Today we have this beaded bracelet made with herringbone and chenille stitch and embellished with sparkly bicones. Just keep watching if you want to bead along. Our bracelet is made with 11O seed beads in 2 colors and then with 4mm bicones. For the clasp we use our usual split rings, jump rings and a lobster clasp. For beading this bracelet we use a combination of herringbone and tubular chenille stitch, and we start with a few rows of herringbone, then we switch to chenille, and in the chenille we insert some we insert some 4mm bicones clusters, and then we continue with the chenille and end with the herringbone stitch. Let's get started. We start our bracelet with a herringbone stitch and we create a 4-bead herringbone. You can find the basics of these stitches in the description below in the what I call learn a stitch tutorials. Here we leave a tail that we will use to create the final clasp. So we pick up 4 and we create a stack of 4, pick up 2, seed beads, go through the next ones, go up. So this is just the basic ladder stitch that you start the herringbone with. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 stacks. We fold the strip, go back up, and down, and up again, and here we can start building up about 5 more rows of herringbone on top of this ladder stitch. And for this we pick up 2 seed beads, go back down the next seed bead, then we rotate, go back up from bottom up through the next seed bead, pick up 2 seed beads and go through the next one from the top down. And here we have finished 1 row of herringbone stitch. To connect these beads we go through the last 2 seed beads in the next stack from the bottom up. Okay, so we had 1 row, now is the second, so half of the row, go back up from bottom up, pick up 2 seed beads, go from top down, and because we have finished the row, we rotate and we connect these two and step up. So go up through the next or the last 2 seed beads from the next stack, and this is how we always step up to make sure that the work doesn't twist. There are some stitches where you don't need to do that just because you want that effect. Today we want to keep the herringbone stitch straight. Okay. And let's see how many we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do 2 more to have 7. So we make sure that our bracelet is strong at the clasp, because the chenille stitch is very elastic and you need a point of stability. And 1 more. Okay. When we finish our bracelet, we make sure that we have the same number of herringbone stitches for the other clasp. So here we have finished our herringbone section. Now we start our tubular chenille, and with our thread coming out of the seed bead, we pick up 1 different color seed bead and go down through the next one. It's like making a herringbone stitch but with only 1 bead instead of 2. Then we go out, up, from bottom up, pick up 1, go down through the next. And here the way we step up is through the last 2 seed beads, so a black and a red. And this is how we step up. This was the first row of the chenille, and now for the second row of the chenille we pick up 2 black and go through the next red. 2 black, go through the next red, and 1 black. We step up. And we continue this for the number of repetitions we want. So in between the black ones we add the red, go back from the bottom up through the next black, pick up a red, go from top down, and here where is the place to step up, you step up like this. Now it's time to add the row of 2 beads. And step up. And this is our chenille stitch. Let's make a few more stitches. As I was saying in one of the tutorials, The chenille stitch looks to me like a modified herringbone. Okay. And now let's say that we've made the length of chenille stitch that we want and the way we design our bracelet. And let's say that we want to add the cluster of bicones. So we can do this only when we add the sequence of 2. So after we have finished the row adding the single bead, now instead of picking up 2 seed beads, we pick up 2 bicones, like this. And we finish the stitch in a normal way. And the next 2 would be again the bicone, and we step up through the seed bead and the bicone, and we are careful with the tension of the thread here. So this is just a normal chenille stitch. So after we have added the 2 beads, we add the single one. Now we can decide if this single would be still a red or a black. It's just for the contrast, and we continue our chenille stitch in the normal way. Pick up the single bead, go down, up, and here we have finished the first half of the cluster, and then here we continue with picking up again, instead of 2 seed beads we pick up 2 bicones. And again 2 bicones for the next sequence. And we step up in the same time. And this is our cluster. Finished. You can decide if you want to repeat this step again to create another cluster on top of this, or just to end it and to continue with the chenille with 11 O's. So let's continue with the chenille with 11 O's. Here we have where we add 1 seed bead, and we go back to our usual sequence of colors, or you can do as you really please. Go up, down, and step up through the bicone and the seed bead. And now we continue with our usual sequence. So 2 seed beads, go up through the single, 2 seed beads, up through the single and the first black seed bead. And now it's time for the row of single in between the black seed beads. And now we go through the first one from bottom up, pick up the single from the top down, and you already have your next chenille tubular in place. We step up here through the black and the red, and we add our sequence of 2 black, go through the single, 2 black, go through the single and step up in the same time. And now it's time for the sequence of the single. Pick up single, go from top down, then you go from the bottom up through the next one, add the single bead from the top down in between the black beads, and now we step up by going from the bottom up through the black and red. And this is how we have our chenille stitch back again in place. As you see, this is a very elastic stitch, and here with the cluster is important that you keep a very tight tension. Now you can design your bracelet with 1 cluster, 2 or 3, is really up to you. The important thing is just to count the number of units that you have in between the clusters. So here, if I have 1 cluster with 1 seed bead, 2 seed beads here, on this cluster I need to make sure that I have 1 seed bead, 2 seed beads in between. Okay, and now let me show you how we finish after we have the length we need, how we finish the chenille through the herringbone, and how we add the clasp. To switch from chenille to herringbone is very easy. So let's say that we are at this step where we have 2 seed beads, and now instead of adding only 1, we add 2, and this is how we start again our herringbone. And here we step up, always step up through the last 2 seed beads, at the end of the row, obviously. And you see how the herringbone stacks sit one on top of the other. As I was saying, we make sure we have the same number of stacks at this end, the same number with the one that we have started. This is a very fast bracelet if you compare to any other method, and the result is very pretty. Depends on the choices for the colors of the seed beads, the color of the bicones in the clusters, and obviously if you decide to have more clusters, less clusters. Okay, Let's have our last row of herringbone. And to end it, we just replicate the work of a ladder stitch, which is in a circle. So we go from top down and up. And this would be the transition from the ladder stitch to the other way around, from the herringbone to ladder stitch. And then we create again another circle like this. And now we can see that the herringbone row is nicely closed. And now let's see how we add the split ring. So with the thread coming out of one of the stacks, I pick up 1, 2, and 3, the diagonal one, pick up the split ring as well, go down through 2, and now go up through the next one, and then down 2, up 1, go to the bead where we have started our loop, and reinforce. And now we can go on the other side to reinforce again. Down 2, then back to the right, only 1 up, and then back to where the original started, and reinforce again. And this way you know that you have reinforced both the loop and the herringbone stacks. If you want, you can repeat this reinforcement once more. So this is how your clasp will look at the end. And to attach the clasp, you just pick up your split ring, open it, pick up the clasp, pick up the bracelet, and close. And here you are. I hope you like this bracelet. The design is very pretty, very nice, and it gives you a lot of options for your designs. Thank you for watching, and please check the playlists for more interesting designs, I think. And don't forget to subscribe, comment if you want, and see you in our next tutorial. Ciao, ciao!